Yeah,
I
let's
gotta
do it.
upgrade mine.
I think we're
Right.
there, guys. Mr. Shaedon Murphy, man. Hey, get him started.
Hey, what's poppin', baby? Welcome to Woodward Pistons Table Talk.
Hey.
We talking, we live, we here. We here,
Yes,
baby.
sir.
And you best
Blanco
believe
Mason, boy.
my auto-tune work this time.
Now that was
I'm
supposed to be there
That-
last
wild
time.
today. Listen, man, I was
That
I
was
away
so
from
much
this
better
equipment.
than last time. I'm so happy for you, Sean.
Oh, dude,
We got to
listen,
work
bro.
it.
That was when that happened. I was, and you know what the worst part was? I didn't get to tell this story afterwards. I just restarted it a couple times and it randomly decided to work again. There was no resolution. There was no problem. It just was. My sound system said, I'm going to just with Sean today. And that's just what's going to happen. But anyway.
You know what happened? You know what happened, Sean? You hit your auto-tune quota for the day and then it just turned off on you.
Exactly. My sound system said this guy needs to be brought down to speed, brought down a peg or two. That's what happened.
Tell the people what happened behind the scenes too. Look, we ended the broadcast. He's like, "Oh, I got it fixed," and then out came Alvin and the Chipmunks again.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh yeah,
Right.
no, I got it fixed," and I was just like,
Fully
Dang
confident. He was just like, "Huh." It was just like, "Whoa, all right, Sean."
yeah, it was, yeah. We almost realized at some point we're gonna have to find a way for like people that get to view the post show, because the post show content would almost be better than the like live show sometimes, because it's wild.
Jimmy
Yeah.
says, "Yo, what's up, man? It looks like we got somebody in the chats already."
Yeah, what's going on, man?
What's
Hey,
up?
first of all,
Jimmy,
I do want to say, as we're introducing everybody, obviously to my left, my co-host, my guy, the godfather of Woodward Pistons, Detroit Kool-Aid, my guy.
Yes, sir.
How we doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. Obviously, you know, we got Downtown Deuce on. That's my homie, as you are, Sean. But what is it? The Sarge, the Dean, all
Dean.
the above.
Dean.
Oh, he said the Dean. I like the way he said that. The Dean.
Yeah, I like the Dean.
Hold on.
Dean.
We got to get the Woodward Sports buffs out, man. We got
Oh,
man, if I had the Woodward Sports buffs, if I could get Woodward Sports buffed up, I would. Believe me.
I gotta do this. I gotta do this right. Wait, I'm just gonna let y'all know this is the Dean. His name is Laz Jackson. I can't do it justice because Mr. Shaedon Murphy has to do that.
Ladies and gentlemen,
come on, Blanco Mason.
The Dean of Pistons Twitter, from Detroit Bad Boys, Jackson.
What?
Get it.
Oh my God.
You gotta give him the MJ
listen,
treatment.
man,
From North Carolina.
Listen, they call me. I could go from North Carolina. Like I could, like this could very much sound like a Maine Red Claws game real quick. You know what
I mean, you guys are doing a great job making me feel real special. I am but a humble tweeter. I am just a dude on Twitter all the time, just like the rest of y'all, right?
Oh man!
But thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
And he just so happens to run one of the best, podcasts, Pistons podcasts around. That's just like all of us, right? No. I've been listening to your stuff for a while, man. Get out of here. We're gonna make sure.
All that means is that I'm old. I just been doing it a long time.
But it also means you're an OG though, man. And that we just appreciate, it's like when we're talking about like doing these table talks, and it's like we talk about, and we even said right before here, we're all about just wanting to just have the voices, the prominent figures, the people in the community. And it's like, you might call yourself just a humble tweeter, but man, you tweet way more about this team than a lot of people will even think to in their entire life. And that's not that's a compliment, because about this team, your stuff, and you showcase your fandom on a day-to-day basis, man. So seriously, thank you for being here. And dude, we got a lot to talk about, gentlemen, because I don't know if you know, of course we got Deuce as well. My guy Deuce. We got to meet in person a couple days ago. We hung out. It was a real good time. My guy Deuce. He looks fly in person, man. He's got some good kicks as well. But anyway, first of all, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about the lottery. Now, first of all, the Detroit Pistons. Number five. All right. Now, of the three teams that could have fallen in that draft, we were the one. However, We only fell to 5 when we could have fallen to 7. On top of that, there's a lot of talent in this draft. And Troy Weaver was brought here to find value, whether he gets the pick at number 1, number 5, number 7.
I'm sorry, Sean. Jabari Smith is going to make it up. No, I'm just playing. We're not going to go there again.
I had to sit there, and I was like just sitting there next to Kool-Aid as he was making his case, and I was just like, oh, buddy. I was like, dude, I get it.
Rod gave me hope. He's giving us hope. But continue on.
Okay.
He can give you all the little nuggets he wants, man. But I'm telling you, he's getting drafted by Orlando number 1. Anyway, but with that, lads, let's start with you. What are your thoughts now knowing that the Detroit Pistons will be drafting at 5? What was your gut reaction on lottery night, and how are you feeling today?
Of course, it's just like immediate disappointment.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
It was like on the broadcast, they show you like, oh, Sacramento jumped up, and Domantas Sabonis like makes the face where he's like, and then it's
the interesting thing,
like somebody fell.
So we didn't have that audio at the time, so we didn't know that the Kings had risen. I kind of had a feeling. I saw Sabonis was kind of giggling. All I saw was freaking Lillard just sitting back like dejected because Portland can never give him nice things, but
how did the Kings keep getting rewarded for this ineptitude? Not just ineptitude. I mean, you finally, you pick a guy, the right guy, Tyrese Halliburton,
a guy who wants to be there.
Then you just trade him.
Yeah.
Then you just trade him. And then the NBA is just continuing to say, "Hey, Sacramento, here you go, here you go, here you go." They're not going to do nothing with it. Is Joe Dumars still? Is he still over there consulting?
No, he actually just became.
Is he not anymore? Okay,
he just became the president of basketball operations for the NBA.
That's right.
That's right.
I forgot about that.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
I mean, we're gonna do if we're crapping
before
on Sacramento.
Yeah,
before the draft lottery.
Joe, come on, bro.
Yeah. I know.
You was in the room, Joe. He helped out Sacramento. Come on.
Yeah, 100%. He even let Oklahoma City.
Jody.
He even let Houston get over us, man. Come on, Joe. But anyway, but anyway, Les, go ahead. Continue.
No, I was gonna say if we're gonna crap on Sacramento, like, did you guys see the report that Vivek made his daughter assistant GM of their G League team?
I did not.
Literally.
Wow.
Just like straight nepotism. And like it's like there's a degree of nepotism everywhere in the NBA. So like I'm not torn up about that. Like it is what it is. But it's just like real funny to watch Kings fans on Twitter be like, oh my God, like he made her what?
Tell me you don't care about your G League team without telling me you don't care about your G League team.
Right.
My daughter will run it.
Meanwhile, the Pistons are like, this G League team will be the foundation of everything we do. It's so crazy to see how an organization like the Pistons, they got a good front office now. They really do. They have a good front office. It's so crazy to see how they operate versus the other ones.
You know what the other thing is too? The Kings, I love them. First of all, Carl, welcome.
What's good,
Carl?
Carl?
He's a regular. Shout out to Carl, man. But also, seriously though,
Mr. Ray,
I love the fact that not only the Kings, not only do they keep making bad decisions, but they had the gumption, the cojones, to literally showcase their worst decision in the past 20 years in front of the live audience. I mean, and that's saying something.
Bro, they were like,
the only other thing you could debate is passing on Luka Doncic. Not even drafting Marvin Bagley, just passing on Luka Doncic. That's all that is. Hey, because you know why? Because we have Marvin Bagley. We're showing that he could definitely play some basketball. But anyway, guys, is it not true that the Pistons still have a chance to get the best player in this draft at 5? It is entirely possible that when we look back, the best player in this draft could be at 5. Because when we're looking at guys who are in play, I'm not sure what your guys' thoughts are. But to me, the 3 names that are being thrown around the most right now are Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivey, and Shaedon Sharpe. At least to me, as of right now, that's my top 3. I would love to know your guys' thoughts.
Deuce, I want to hear from Deuce.
Yeah, bro. So draft night. I'll go to draft night for a second. Like you, Laz, I was disappointed. I was expecting top 3 pick. I think we all were at least expecting a top 4 pick. So after the aftershock, and I was able to kind of come down off of my low, or come up from my high, come down from my low, whatever how you want to call it. But basically, yeah, I think the fact that we have Troy Weaver really puts me at ease. You know, I feel like Troy maybe somehow kind of secretly likes these type of situations, because now there is a challenge for him. You know, we saw what he did with the draft picks from the past couple of years, having first team all rookie guys late in the teens. So I think with Troy, I'm not too concerned. I know Troy's going to find the best guy to go with Cade Cunningham. You know, and that's really what it's about. It's just building around our centerpiece. So I think, and like you mentioned, Sean, we have a shot to get the best player, because we understand how important situation is, right? You could be the best player, but in a terrible situation, or a great player, but in a bad situation, a la Marvin Bagley, and it's not going to work out for you. So I know Troy is going to get a guy who is going to be a great fit, who's in a great situation to fit this team. Yeah.
Bro, you just took my point, because that's what I was going to say, is that with Troy Weaver, there might be a player that we can say, oh, that might be a better rated player right now, or that's the first overall pick. But I feel comfortable that Troy is going to get, where he's drafting, the best possible player for the Pistons. And honestly, you know, Jeff was saying this on the Woodward Pistons podcast the other day. He was talking about how many guys got picked after number 5. You know, we always look at the notable picks at 5. Troy Weaver's the type of GM who doesn't let those guys who get picked at 6, 7, 8 who blow up like Devin Booker. He's the type of guy who finds them. That's who Troy Weaver, or at least the pedigree that he has. And in the draft that he selected Isaiah Stewart and Sadiq Bey, he knew, I have to get those guys.
Well, and the other thing too that's telling, you look, first of all, Troy Weaver afterwards, he seemed very confident and very okay with having the number 5 overall pick. Obviously, you have to move on right away, and you have to take the situation that you're given and find the best in it. However, you know, interestingly, Troy Weaver said that it's not always about length and athleticism. It's about finding the best player in this draft. He talked about how the Portland Trailblazers might regret drafting a guy that was a long athletic wing in replacing of a guy named Michael Jeffrey Jordan that ended up going to the Chicago Bulls, because they ultimately passed on them in favor of length, right? So looking at that situation, Troy Weaver is very much saying, guys, just because we're looking at these top guys and we might not get them, we could have the evaluation wrong. We could very much not know that the best guy in this draft might end up being a Shaedon Sharpe, might end up being a Jaden Ivey. And it very much could also be a guy like Keegan Murray. Now, there's another guy that people talk about, Jalen Duren, this big man who really put a name for himself in the tournament. I kind of want to throw out to you guys, what do you think of him? Because I know that's a guy that's very popular among the Pistons community.
Jalen Duren, you go first, last. Definitely.
I was going to say, I like Duren a lot more at 7 than I do at 5, right? I feel, you know, you guys know me. You guys know I was like team jumpy jump. I invented team jumpy jump. Jalen Duren is jumpy jump, right? And the Pistons, despite the addition of Bagley, still could use that element on the offensive end and have somebody who could still also, you know, defend at a higher level than Bagley did last year. And you're still hoping for internal improvement from Bagley on that end. Yeah. But like you think of the emphatic shot blocking numbers that Jalen Duren had, and you watch his tape, and he's like spiking balls into the third row. He's spiking balls off the backboard, like leading to transition opportunities for Memphis. He's just a ridiculous athlete to watch on film. And so I would be really interested in him. My fear with him is that he's only going to be a run jump guy. And if you're going to have like a top 6, top 7 pick, it's like maybe you could have someone who adds a few more elements to your team than just that athleticism. But as we know, as was pointed out by people in the chat, right? Like Detroit still needs an infusion of athleticism, right? And so I don't think that would be absolutely a bad pick. It just I wouldn't want it to be their only first round pick.
Not there. Yeah, I feel like there's some better skilled guys at that pick, but just like how he saw Isaiah Stewart fall down the board, you got to understand in Troy Weaver's mind, Isaiah Stewart and Sadiq Bey fell down the board, whereas other GMs probably thought they were making the right picks. If Duren falls, I wouldn't be surprised if Troy's like, hey, or any other GM that can see, this guy is definitely a great pick after 10. If he falls, try and get back up there and see what you can do. But at this position, man, with Duren, I don't know. There's sometimes when I love absolutely what I'm seeing, and then there's other times when I'm like, I can hear Piston fans calling him Andre Drummond 2.0. Yeah, you know, just depending on the way that he goes. Sometimes I feel like his motor is there. I try not to use that word with players, and other times I feel like, what's going on with this player? Is he there? Does he know what he's supposed to be on the court defensively? For as good, as what Laz was talking about with those blocks and transition, and I really love how he can get out on the perimeter, like Beef Stew a little bit. I wasn't really too impressed completely with his post defense, with his straight up post defense. And so it just, I see the comments here. People are they're not really into him. They're not, they're more aligned with us. The hot name I'm seeing right now is Ben Mathurin.
Yeah, that's the guy that people are throwing around. I definitely like Benedict Mathurin as well. I definitely think that he's someone that could be in play at 5. However, in my opinion, I think with where and not to say that these determine players' value, but in my opinion, I think he's a guy that also very much could still just be available at 7 or later in the draft order as well if Detroit elects to trade a Jeremy Grant for, say, a guy. And I'm not saying that means that he's a lesser player, because I think Benedict Mathurin is also a guy who could potentially make a case someday of being the best player in this draft. He could play.
That's what the commenters want. They're chatting him up right now, man. I'm seeing it.
And I know, and I know he can ball, and that's definitely someone I'm. If there's any player in this class that like I want to dive into more, obviously it's Shaedon Sharpe, because none of us know a dang thing about Shaedon Sharpe. That's where I just want to be honest.
We know very, very, very little about Shaedon Sharpe, right? Like the things we know, right? We have measurements, right? We know he's 6'5" and like a quarter. So he's not 6'6", he's 6'5" and a quarter. Okay, cool. We know he's got like almost a 7-foot wingspan. And if you were watching the tape, you could see that, because like dude would be jumping and his head would be like at the net and his arm would be like at the top of the box. And you're like, wow, that dude's arms must be crazy long. Yeah. And now we know he's got 7 foot, like essentially a 7-foot wingspan. We know that like for a long stretch in EYBL play, he was a really good pull-up shooter. Right, like a really good pull-up shooter from off the dribble from 3. It's like, with a longer NBA line, will that translate with better defense? It's like, I don't know, but like we know he has the physical measurables and the shooting prowess that you look for in like a high-tier NBA shooting guard prospect, right? All the other stuff, like can he pass? It's like I don't really know. We didn't see much of that. Can he defend? Like I don't know. He's 19 and he's playing high school basketball. Like I don't know how much coaching he's had about the defensive side of the ball. It's like, how does he read the floor? It's like, he makes like the right pass in transition, but transition's an easy opportunity, easy passing windows. Like that stuff is relatively simple. It's
I do want to
go
comment real quick too. Yeah. Because I'm like, whoa. I am not saying I think Benedict Mathurin's going to be the best player in this draft class. If anything, what I'm saying is, first of all, I don't know who's going to be the best player in this draft. And that's the point I'm making. 5 years down the line, we don't know who's going to be the best player. What I'm saying is if you're putting together a list of guys who could be the best player of this draft, in my opinion, I think Benedict Mathurin could be on that list. Now, I'm not saying that's where he'll be drafted.
I'm sorry, bro.
I'm typing out the info that, hey, I respect it. I'm just making sure. I'm like, I respect
Shout out
that.
to Mr. Ray.
Shout out to Mr. Ray.
Yeah.
Yes,
with drafts, it's like, I know it's like, it's kind of like, that's one of those things where I know a lot of times with players, we like to talk in absolutes, but when we're talking about draft prospects, nothing is absolute at all. And that's kind of what my point is on that.
Yeah, we just kind of have our favorites. We have some of the stuff that we've gotten through clips. We have some stuff we've gotten through games. And people, we spend our time trying to figure these players out. But Hey man, we figured players out and then seen them in the league and just like, what in the world happened to this guy? You know, it's a crapshoot, and we've seen it happen to the best of GMs. We've seen it happen to the worst of GMs. We're still sitting here trying to figure out how the guy who put together the 04 Pistons also put together the teams after the 04 Pistons. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the 2012 Pistons.
Right. Yeah. Facts. Absolutely.
Talking about a going to work Pistons, that the 2012 Pistons, that was a calling into work Pistons, if anything. but oh my gosh! But
I like that.
But Sean, I want you to pitch me on Shaedon Sharpe, because I feel like a lot of people are just like really invested in they see the athleticism and the 3-point shooting, and they're like, oh, we need exactly that. And it was like they discount the jump in competition level between EYBL and the NBA, right?
Yes.
And so I want you to pitch me Shaedon Sharpe, because like I'm feeling it, but I don't think I'm feeling it as much as other people are.
Right. In my opinion, if you were to go with drafting Shaedon Sharpe, which initially after the lottery, that was kind of like my man, this could be the right time to go for Shaedon Sharpe, because as far as what his skill set is, what we see from his intangibles, I mean, first of all, very reminiscent of Jalen Green as far as the game that he has, the type of bounce and athleticism, but also just his sheer skill to score. As far as if I were to give my scouting report, I can't speak on what he can do on the defensive end because I just flat out don't know. What I can say is his intangibles. I think he has the right pieces to be a good defensive player. And if he comes into Detroit, people we talk about like the perfect place for a certain player. Detroit might be the perfect place for a Shaedon Sharpe, because it's a market he can go into where it's very low key. He's not expected to be the number one guy. Cade can set up a lot of easy offense for a guy that can get some easy offense for himself.
I'm glad you highlighted that, because I saw that and I'm like, what?
Yeah. So and listen, the Orlando YouTube, listen, they're just going to have fun. They're all still drinking because they're celebrating that their team's relevant again. Good for them. Congratulations, your Orlando Magic. But in all seriousness, I think he's a guy that if the Pistons were to draft Shaedon Sharpe, what I would say to me is that Troy Weaver believes what a lot of people believe, and it's that he very well could be an all-star type scoring guard that could play really well alongside Cade. Now, if you're asking me today, if I'm a betting man, who I think is going to be the guy at 5, I think it's ultimately going to be Jaden Ivey. And the reason why, I think Keegan Murray is ultimately going to go at 4, because I just don't see a situation, or that could be where Shaedon Sharpe goes as well. Like, in my opinion, because it's like, well, De'Aaron Fox is pretty much Jaden Ivey, the type of game that he plays. So like that to me just makes no sense. So, and the only things that make sense for them is either to trade down, or to go get a guy like Keegan Murray or a Shaedon Sharpe and like either make the high risk, high reward play, or the guy who can come in and help you try to get to the playoffs right away and play good starting minutes right away.
Well, the good thing here is that, like the commenters, we're seeing it. We have Cade, and for various different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do have Cade, and I talked about this on the draft show, talked about this with Rod on the Woodward Pistons podcast. Because we do have Cade, we don't have to put as much pressure on any of these draft picks, anybody that we pick, to come in and be the man right away. Cade was the guy that we knew you had to get because, like you said, Deuce, he's a leader. Like Rod has said, he's Troy and Casey, he's a connector. He's a guy with an intangible that none of these other players had. So even if there might have been a guy with better handles, better athleticism, better shot, better this, we have to get Cade because Cade supercharges any other pick after him.
Yep.
That's just how it goes. And now you're talking about adding a guy that has top 10 talent. When you're looking at a Shaedon Sharpe, we want to be able to add the best player. But remember, Troy is going after best talent. He didn't even say I'm going after best fit. He said I'm going after best talent. And Cade gives you the ability to decide, to kind of play with either or. Hey, I really like what Shaedon Sharpe is showing with his measurables. You know what? We could potentially go after him because we know that Cade can help in the rest of his team to put him in his best positions. It's not going to be Shaedon Sharpe out there, you know, on one of these busted teams that's just letting the draft pick do whatever he wants to do. Casey is not. He doesn't do that. And he states that.
That's very
true. So
that's very true.
You know, Cade makes this pick much, whatever it's going to be, he minimizes their weaknesses and makes it a much more desirable pick, whether they go somebody we know is good to go or whether they go with a little bit of a project.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that this draft pick did for me was it starts making you think about the other dominoes and the other potential wild card pieces in the Detroit Pistons offseason. Namely, not just, you know, Jeremy Grant, which obviously is a hot button issue at all times. But in addition, as we saw really develop this week and heat up, is the Deandre Ayton conversation. And looking at the Vegas odds right now, if Deandre Ayton were not on the Phoenix Suns next year, 1-to-1 odds say right now that he would be on the Detroit Pistons. And I'm not going to lie, guys. After the lottery, I feel myself a little more sold, or at least a little more interested, or starting to wonder if that is a direction we should take, because we might not be able to get one of those top bigs at the top of the draft like we were hoping, but there's very much one in play at the free agency deadline. You just have to go and pay to make it happen. So I want to present to the panel, should we target Deandre Ayton? Why or why not?
Before we get there, I do want to just highlight one comment that kind of leads into that too. And they said that Weaver didn't say talent, he said best fit. What he said was we're grabbing talent that best fits what we're trying to do. But they said that they do want the best talent. You know, Sean, repeat the question, because I think that's an important you know, nuance to add to when we're talking about what they're going to do moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think where Detroit landed in the lottery changes what they would have done with Deandre Ayton? And do you think he is someone that we should bring into the fold, or should we make an offer this summer?
I don't know if it changes it, because none of those three guys at the top of the draft were centers. You know, they were forwards, including Chet, in my opinion, at least coming into the league. So I don't know if it changes it, but I definitely think since we'll be able to possibly fill a hole at guard, which is one of our biggest holes outside of center, we can go ahead and potentially take a long look at DeAndre Ayton. I feel like he was very underutilized, and I'm pretty sure he feels somewhat disrespected, because here's a first pick in the draft, right? And he's the third option on the team. He's forgotten oftentimes by, you know, those in the media and the fans and those on the court at times, because he's not one of the main options, at least not one or two. So I think he's somebody who's going to go into the offseason with a chip on his shoulder, with something to prove wherever he goes. He's got something to prove, and I think he can fill a lot of holes that we have. Interior defense being the main one for me. I mean, I think he could be a great lob threat for Cade, pick and roll, pick and pop, whatever you want. Not a great three-point shooter, but he can keep defenses honest. And that's something I think he can also improve on. But I think it's a solid fit. I don't know if you throw the bag at him, but it's not like we don't have the money to do it. So if it makes sense, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's certainly a guy that at the very least, you know, despite the money you'd have to pay him, it is undeniable he would make us a much better team day one.
Yeah, definitely would. Definitely. We just have to wonder how much a better of a team does he make us in the future over maybe either a younger player or a cheaper center.
Well, that's the really good thing about Ayton, right? Is that I think he's 23 years old. So he still fits the timeline of like what you want to accomplish as a young rebuilding team. Just happens to be slightly more established and good. And so you know what you're getting right away from him. Yeah. I like Ayton. Yeah, I like Ayton a lot. I like Deuce said you might not want to throw the whole bag at him. It's like I also like probably wouldn't want to throw the whole bag at him, but that's what it's going to take to get him out of Phoenix.
Right.
And so if it's like that or nothing, or if it's like, you know, that or like, you know, Mitchell Robinson or something, it's like yeah, no, just like do what it takes and get DeAndre Ayton in here, and we'll figure out the rest later, right? Like,
right.
The Pistons can only offer a 4-year contract. I don't feel like in 4 years DeAndre Ayton is going to be so toxic an asset that like you can't trade him if like everything goes wrong in 4 years, right?
Right.
And so like, you know, do what it takes. He fits Cade on both ends, offensively and defensively. And, you know, having that pick and roll pairing and having a guy like Saddiq Bey spacing the floor and being able to generate like a little bit more offense. It's like you have the broad outline of something like very, very interesting. And now you just have to like fill in the blanks.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think he's just a guy that, you know, like, even though people, you know, like, even though Phoenix, like, obviously they passed on Luka Doncic, it's certainly, that doesn't mean that DeAndre Ayton was a bad pick at number 1, because you saw, I mean, he got to the finals largely because when the Phoenix Suns were at their best, Ayton was heavily involved on the offensive end. Yep. He was a guy that when he could, because he had the ability to take over games offensively at times for Phoenix too, which is something that's really important to remember. This guy is a number 1 overall pick and does have talent and room to get better. And someone asked, what is the ceiling on him? Kool-Aid, I'd love to know your thoughts, because this is a guy where, you know, you talk about Chris Paul unlocked a level to his game. Imagine Cade Cunningham, a guy who very similar to Chris Paul is a great playmaker, but isn't limited with some of the restrictions athletically and even versatility wise that Chris Paul is. I'd love to know your thoughts, Kool-Aid.
Yeah, no, first, definitely shout out Big Dog. Good to see you over here. Definitely. But, you know, like I said, if I'm going to say that Cade Cunningham can be somebody that can help, you know, mask some of the weaknesses of these young players, some of these rookies, of course he can do that with a player like DeAndre Ayton. We heard a bunch of stuff about Marvin Bagley that we were supposed to be fearful of when he came to Detroit. And then right away, we see Cade mugging him because he just threw an and-one alley-oop to Marvin Bagley. We were like, yeah, we haven't seen Cade have this all, like, since he's, you know, coming into the league. I mean, they gave him what? Olynyk, he ain't catching no lobs like that. You know, they gave him Trey Lyles. They didn't get a whole lot of time together. He ain't catching no lobs like that. As soon as they put Marvin Bagley with a player, like you guys have said, that has that pedigree like a Chris Paul, but has a little bit more height, a lot more height, you know, at this stage, a lot more athleticism. It brought out the best in a Marvin Bagley who was just hungry, man, to hoop. With DeAndre Ayton, obviously he's not going to have that same hunger, but I believe putting him with a player who's trying to make him the centerpiece. Think about this. We know Cade can go out there and get his, but Cade is trying to make other guys fat, bro. Like, here, eat. I'm trying to feed you.
Right.
And he looks happy about that. That's why I like DeAndre Ayton. And when I think about the ceiling, I said something earlier, age-wise he fits. It's just that max. If we know that Cade Cunningham and DeAndre Ayton forms a potent duo, if we can guarantee that, you got to throw him the bag. You have to, because you already have people like Saddiq Bey on the team. DeAndre Ayton, I mean, and Rod even talked about bring back Marvin Bagley too. That's a lot of talent. You get, you know, big really, really quickly. You have bigs that can kind of play all across the floor, and you can throw multiple looks. Imagine another team's opposing center having a guard DeAndre Ayton and then having a guard Stu who's coming in doing maybe a few different things. Yeah. It changes up what the defense is trying to do, man. So,
well, and the other thing too is it when you're looking at when you're gonna make a playoff run, you gotta look defensively. First of all, Helio got zero bunnies. Yeah,
Mr. Ray is on one tonight. I love it.
Also, it's easy, baby. What up, Easy? Shout out Easy in the comments.
Easy.
Yeah, what up, Easy? My God.
What up, though?
It's easy.
I missed your call, bro. I'm gonna call you back.
Yeah, love you, Easy. But anyway, it's one of those things where you look at deep playoff runs, you look at where Ayton's going to bring value. If Dario Saric is healthy, Phoenix might have won that series, and that's crazy. Imagine being a Dario Saric away from an NBA championship. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say. But anyway,
no, that was what I really loved about Ayton, was that in Milwaukee in the finals, like Giannis is like literally putting his elbow in his chest every single time down the floor, and he didn't look afraid. He didn't look shaken. He looked up for the moment. And it's like, that was, last year. He wasn't even like a consideration for the Pistons at that point. But even at that time, I was like, yo, like I'm putting that in the memory banks. Like this is a dude who like I would definitely be interested in down the road. And like now, I don't know what the situation in Phoenix is. It's internal per Monty Williams. I don't know what that means, but it definitely sounds like he's more available than your typical, number one overall pick coming off the last couple of years in his rookie contract is. And so I'm really interested in what Deandre Ayton could bring to the team this offseason if that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even too, before we talk about this beef stew comment.
Yeah, that's a good comment.
Yeah. Before we talk about this comment, I do want to say, and if you're going to look at a guy like Ayton who needs a specific type of coach as well, needs a specific type of culture to thrive. Some guys just need, leadership. Sometimes need just to be led a different way. Not everyone could be screamed at. You know what I mean? So if you're looking at going from Monty Williams to Dwayne Casey, that's a pretty darn smooth transition, because guys that are cut by the very similar cloth Monty Williams and Dwayne Casey are.
Yeah, somebody said here just before we close out the Ayton talk that I didn't want to switch this comment out, but they said he didn't like the way Phoenix was using him, and he does have a valid argument. And I think that's the point all of us are making, is that we believe here with Casey, like you just said it, Sean, there might be a breath of fresh air for him. It might be a scheme where they're saying coming in, hey, Cade is probably saying the type of player we know him to be, hey, how do you want to best play? Where do you want the ball?
Yeah,
it's different.
And then once you sign that big contract, expectations change too, right? Like we paid you $30 million.
Yeah,
like you wanted the shots. It's like, come get these rebounds, come get these points. Like if you wanted to be the dude, like we're paying you $30 million, come be the dude. And if he's up for it, like he's up for it.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. But also, let's start talking about Isaiah Stewart, because I'm not going to lie. If there's any player that I think has gotten a lot of unjustified slack, it's Isaiah Stewart. Now, I understand, and it is the thing of, is Beef Stew is Beef Stew the starter on a championship team at center? Probably not. However, do you not see the value that this guy brings? Do we not understand how good of a pick this guy was at 16?
Absolutely.
The fact that, first of all, it's not the fact that this guy, here's the thing, both can be true. It can be true that this team might be better without him being the starting center. But it can also be true that he can be one of the reasons we win a deep playoff series one day, because of some of the skills and potential that he brings.
Absolutely.
Did I miss Sean bashing on Beef Stew yet?
No, if anything, I'm doing the opposite.
I know, man.
I think a lot of fans are giving up on Beef Stew. And I'm not saying that people are saying to cut him. I'm not saying that people are saying he's trash. But what I would say is I think we're beginning to write off what he can be much quicker than we should. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let me ask. Yeah, that's what I do want to ask. I mentioned this one before. I don't believe that is writing him off if his ceiling is one of your most important players on the team, but he might be coming off the bench. I see him like the 04 Corliss Williamson. Come in, because Corliss was a starter. He had that type of ability, but when they put him on the bench, there was nobody who could contain him. I don't know who remembers some 04 teams, but we knew when Corliss was coming into the game, they used to say with Jason Maxill, he was eating babies. Like we knew it's game over, dog. It was buckets. That 04 run, I knew it. We're like, no, we can't get no buckets. Rasheed not hitting no threes. Then throw Corliss Williamson into the game. And that's how it was. And I believe that if we can get Isaiah Stewart to accept a role like that, we know he has starter talent, but on a contender where we believe K can take us off the bench, that's a punch there, man. That's a punch.
Yeah. I think, bro, I think the reason there's so much slack for or against Isaiah Stewart is because the expectation level since he was drafted till now has wildly swung back and forth. When he was drafted, a lot of people really didn't even know who he was. Who was Isaiah Stewart? Why did we pass on this guy or pass on that guy? So the expectation level was low. And then when we actually saw him play and we saw his motor and the ways he can impact the game from an intangible standpoint, it swung the other way. Oh, this guy can be an all-star. And then as the season continued to progress, you saw that wasn't the case, and now it's back the other way. So I just feel like the expectation level has really decided for people who Isaiah Stewart is.
Right. No, that is a great point, Deuce. And what I want to say is that, like, the way I think about it is like Deandre Ayton is DeAndre Ayton's both your 82 and your 16 game center, but like Isaiah Stewart, like that dude is built to just like wreck people on switches in the playoffs and be, as Sean put it, like an integral part of a championship contending team. Like, look, like I'm watching Celtics Miami right now. You think about the work that Grant Williams put in on the defensive end for the Celtics in that Miami series. It's like you can expect that type of effort and influence from Isaiah Stewart on the defensive end, like for a similar type of playoff team. Like, will Isaiah Stewart hit 8 threes like Grant Williams did in Game 7? Maybe not, but like knowing that you can still construct a roster that like ameliorates that weakness. But I'm right with Deuce. Like people went so far back and forth with Stu, and it's just like he's going to be a very excellent like sixth man, first big off the bench, like part of your 3 big rotation. And like, for the 20th pick, for the 19th pick, for he was 16, right? Yeah, it's like that's perfect. Like that's fine. Exactly, Donovan. Like he was giving Luka like trouble, and we're like, we're seeing now what Luka's capable of.
That's true.
And what I wanted to say to the defense part of it is this, though. I love what Isaiah Stewart has brought defensively on a perimeter. That's something that I don't want to discount that. For as much as we say his offense, it should be better. Look what Marvin Bagley did with Cade. What he's doing on the defense on the perimeter, that he was top 5, I believe, Sean, in the league for centers that switched out and successfully defended. That is a key stat. But, we would be saying the same things as this was 04 about Lindsey Hunter, and he came off the bench. You know what I'm saying? And it's such a tough conundrum with Stu, because I believe we all want him because of his attitude, his work ethic, how hard he goes, the flashes we see. We all want him to grab that starter spot and be a starter on a contending team, whether that's at the 5 or the 4 or wherever they best see. But looking at the talent, looking at the fact that they have to make decisions this year on draft picks, does anybody believe Troy's making just 1 pick this year?
No. I personally
that's what I'm saying. So it's like, what's best for the team, man. And all of this, everybody's been saying it. We love Stu. Sean, we do. We all love these two brothers.
Yeah. But again, it's as long as we're having the conversation of both can be true, if you can still be a really valuable player and not be the answer at starting center. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, we can have the conversation of maybe this guy shouldn't be the starter. However, that's what I'm saying. If that is facts, though, Chuck. Like literally, if you were to merge 2 players in the league, it would be those guys without a doubt.
You know what you need? You need like hockey, like line changes, right? Like Stu skates off and Bagley skates on. You throw him a lob. It's like, all right, great. And Bagley skates off and Stu skates on. You stop him on the switch. And then you just keep doing that back and forth. That's what you
It's like the old end of game offense for defense switches. Man.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Like the Red Wings, they needed Darren McCarty on their team, man. Shout out to my guy D-Mac. We need more D-Macs in the world, bro. We need guys that are muscle, that are energy, that are heart and soul. And, And Isaiah Stewart, I don't know if he's a fighter like D-Mac is. He might have had the one time where we all didn't want to be in his way and kind of would be scared to be the guy that would be in his way. But we definitely need guys like that on a winning team. Yeah. So 100%. He's going to be the guy in a playoff series that's going to get a guy suspended for 1 game because he was just giving him hell on the defensive end and getting him ejected. That's what 100% going to happen. That's
Mr. Ray. He's still typing underneath the influence. I see.
Hey, he said he's under the influence. It didn't mean he had the influence to stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He even went with the Isaiah spelling. I love it.
He did.
That's a great Marvin Stewart or Isaiah Bagley. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's important that we talk about, you know, Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart, because it's directly connected to this draft. We're talking about it because we don't know where to go. Like, if they do go and grab another pick, and there's a big on there that we believe can help this team right now, you got to be ready and prepared to say, hey, Isaiah Stewart, this is what we need from you next year, and this is the role we're going to have for you. Because it's not like Isaiah Stewart is going to just instantly get like 10 minutes a game.
Right.
It's not going to happen. He's still going to have an impact. He's still going to play heavy minutes. He's still going to be a guy that's going to go in there and be that absolute dog. And honestly, I wonder what he would look like kind of in a managed situation like that. Coming in fresh, coming in hot, while guys or some of the starters might be tired. And he's coming in off the bench at that, 4-minute mark in the first quarter. And then you instantly see him get 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 blocks, or a block or something like that, or a steal. He's guarding, just going crazy. What if he's wreaking havoc? We say he can defend the perimeter. What if he's wreaking havoc on the the opponent's backup guards?
Exactly. That's what I was.
Well, and the other thing too, imagine like a lot of these teams, you look at how they adjust their lineups. They don't just stick with the same starting 5 throughout the playoffs. A lot of times teams will make adjustments based on which lineups and who they're facing. So well, I'm just saying.
Nug got me.
Let you sound last.
Oh yeah. I mean, that comment that's not wrong. You ain't wrong. Yeah. But anyway, you ain't wrong. But in all seriousness, like, you know, Isaiah Stewart, like, there's series and situations where, let's say we have Ayton, there might be situations where it's like, okay, right now we could just go with Isaiah at the 5 for a little bit because this smaller lineup is just working better. But there's also situations where, all right, Stu, awesome defense, but we need a guy who can go out and protect the rim and bring us home and anchor us in that defensive end in that sense. So exactly. Killian's turn now. Get Killian in the 3-point contest. I want to see if he can get more than 5.
Yeah. You know what though? It's interesting. Chili made a good point. Said has to worry about fouls less coming off the bench. We know sometimes he will struggle with foul trouble in the starting unit.
Yeah.
So off the bench, he can come in full tilt.
He was basically a bench player. Getting them 2 quick fouls and then having to go to the bench. Yeah.
It was noticeable that like you could not rely on him for like 35 minutes a night like you could the other starters.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Agreed. And so maybe with those lesser minutes, maybe he doesn't have to worry as much about foul trouble. Maybe it could just be like foul trouble be damned. I'm gonna go out there and play as hard as I can.
And just be a wrecking ball. Yeah. That would look awesome. I remember Corliss Williamson with the Pistons, he was not as the same type of player in terms of how he was looked at. On other teams, they knew he's probably a second or a third option. When he came to the Pistons, he was in a bench role, and it was like someone just unleashed him, just like a bull out of the gates, and he would just go to town. Sometimes I would get him in trouble. I'm not saying he was a perfect player, but I'm telling you that 0-4 team does not win that championship if Corliss Williamson is not on it. And there's a lot of guys that we can say like that. I think that's why it's important to stack that talent. Isaiah Stewart off the bench because there's a better player in front of him is a great problem. It's a great thing.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, without a doubt. And these are going to be, certainly conversations, Marvin, talking about him defensively. That's kind of a good gear in that when we do bring him back, or if we do bring him back, what should be the expectation for Marvin Bagley's role next year? Now, I saw Anthony on Pistons Talk. I saw him go on the morning show earlier today. I believe it was today, and he said that he would want Marvin to start at the 5 for us this upcoming season. And I don't hate that if I know what I'm getting from him offensively. Because here's the thing: when I saw him start for us, the rim protecting thing did not get better. In fact, there might have been times where the paint was more wide open because Marvin just didn't have the instinct to just stay back or hover around the paint. What are your guys' thoughts on where Marvin should go next year? And obviously, other than the defensive end, what are some improvements you want to see him make?
Well, for me, it's defensively. You just kind of hit on it, Sean. I think he has the tools to be a really good defender. I just think he needs to learn how to defend. it's a difference. Being athletic doesn't mean you're a good defender. A lot of time he will just be out of position or make the wrong read defensively. A lot of time coming off pick and rolls. So that's one thing that I would like to see him improve on. I think he definitely can improve. The tools are there. I think having Ben Wallace here only helps. Playing alongside Stu only helps. So playing for Casey only helps. So it's not like he has hit a ceiling when it comes to defensively, especially in the interior. He has a lot of room to grow. I think he will.
Absolutely, he does.
Yep, great points, man. Great points. With Marvin Bagley, it's a situation too where, a lot of us, we've either played ball, been around ball, or have talked to people who've played ball enough to know that when you don't really get to play in the game, your instincts suck. They are trash. Your timing is trash. Your awareness on the court is trash. What we saw from him, I believe Cade has a lot to do with that, and then his raw talent has a lot to do with that. I don't know what he's going to be defensively. That is something I want to see better out of him. For me, I want to just know he can be healthy if he's going to be our starting center. I just want to know that he can actually take that demand, because I want to know it's a player that Cade, he can depend on what he's going to have when he goes out there to play, and that we can depend on having that big man. We saw how bleak it was without him. As soon as he's here, as soon as Cade was healthy, as soon as the team got back, after the All-Star break, in games that Cade played in, this team was playing near 500 ball. For a team that only won 20-something games, that's huge. You made one trade, you get your team back healthy. It's huge. So we see the impact he can have, but he has to be healthy. He has to be able to work through the summer to get that awareness back. We all know that, man. Getting out there when you say, I ain't played in 3 years, it looks like that. You might still be a cold hooper. You might be really dope, but it's going to look like you haven't played in 3 years. And Marvin Bagley, when he first, it looked like he just hadn't played. He looked winded. He was sweating more than everybody else early in the games. Some fouls looked like he was just kind of reaching sometimes. That is a player that just give him some time. And so for me, I think the most important is I want to see if he can just stay healthy.
Yeah, I'm a disagree actually with you guys a little bit. I think Bagley is in the correct position right now as an eighth man, as a offense, as a mainly offense guy off the bench. I think that's the role he had a lot of success in. I think in Sacramento, that was when he was the best, when they simplified things around him and just kind of let him be a run jump guy. We saw, but when things changed, when they asked more from him defensively, or when they tried to do other things to expand his offensive arsenal, like have him shoot more threes and stuff like that, it didn't go as well, right? So I think it's I of course want to hold out hope that he improves defensively. I don't want to put a limit on what he's capable in his career. He's only 24 too, right? He's not much older than the rest of the guys. But I think for right now, him in that role as a scoring big off the bench, he's so good at it. It's just keep it simple and let him do that, and then we can worry about if Stu is the starter, if Ayton is the starter, if they pick up a guy like Duren, if they sign a guy like Mitchell Robinson, we can worry about what the starting lineup looks like after we see how free agency shakes out. For now, I'm cool just bringing back Marvin with the expectation that you're gonna come off the bench, you're gonna score 14 a night, you're gonna grab 7 rebounds. We're just gonna pin that in because you got that on lock. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
But I saw someone say, "Don't take a step back from from Ayton to Marvin Bagley." Now, and it's when we take that step back, it's also taking a step back in the contract as well to be able to put some other pieces around. So, if we get Ayton, we know what we're getting. We also know we're paying. If it is Bagley, I believe if it's Bagley, it's going to be because Phoenix, turned down or matched the offer, or he's going back to Phoenix.
Yeah.
I don't, foresee a situation where Troy Weaver can go this summer and not kick the tires on DeAndre Ayton. So
for sure.
Let's talk about this though. Let's talk about this though.
You start this one off.
Yo, so actually this is funny too, because this is my guy Justin Lambrexi at Detroit Bad Boys who put this out. He put out the tweet that was we got Jaden Ivey at home, and the Jaden Ivey at home is Hamidou Diallo, right? So this where it's we were talking about this, and I think it's more correct than people would like it to be, right? When I look at Jaden Ivey, I do see, he's got just nuclear athleticism, right? But the frustrating thing about him is that despite that, he's not as effective a player as like even you would think he is, like given his draft status. Like, you know, Johnny Davis won the Big Ten Player of the Year. It's like, I don't think Johnny Davis is a better like prospect than Jaden Ivey, but there is something to be said that despite the fact that Johnny Davis has like nowhere near the same amount of athleticism as Jaden Ivey, and like they were both kind of not great shooters, he managed to be more productive and, you know, more valuable for his team. You know, Keegan Murray averaged like 23 points a game playing in Iowa. And like some of that is the, you know, they played with a lot of pace. Purdue played really slowly because they're Purdue or whatever. But like he looked like a much more impressive NBA prospect to me in like the Big Ten tournament than Ivey did. Right. What I think is happening with Jaden Ivey is an unfortunate victim of the class, of the 2022 class. It's like normally in a regular draft class, you would have like a Trae Young level guard prospect, and that guy would be at the top. And then you'd have like a Buddy Hield level draft prospect, and that guy would be second. And then you would have Jaden Ivey, and he'd be third, and he'd be like the third best guard prospect in the class. And Jaden Ivey would go like 9th or 10th, and people would be like, "Oh, cool! Like that's a really good situation for him. Like he doesn't have the burden of, you know, being the primary initiator right away. He doesn't have the burden of like he has to change expectations for the team, like immediately turn everything out right away." But because we were missing those prospect levels, Jaden Ivey is almost by default the best guard prospect in the class. And so any team that needs a guard at the top is like they're looking at Jaden Ivey. It's like when I don't think he's quite that level of prospect, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think about, you know, some people even trying to compare him to D Wade?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm just like,
the people that I've seen people say he is D Wade, and it's just like, y'all, Dwayne Wade is one of the greatest. If Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant didn't exist, we might be talking about D Wade as the best shooting guard to ever play the game of basketball. Like we're gonna be
Ivy's
careful.
not even Donovan Mitchell, right?
Yeah,
and Donovan Mitchell went 13th, if I remember correctly, right? And so it's just like it's unfortunate to me that like I feel like when I'm saying this, it's like it's perceived as slander, right? Like people think I'm like just super bad or super down on Ivy. And it's like I think he's a really good player. I just don't think he's the right initiator, or like I don't think he's the right secondary dude next to Cade. And I don't think he's as good a fit for the Pistons as even like well-respected people like think. Like Sam Vecini went for like 5 whole minutes on this podcast with James Edwards about how Jaden Ivey would be like best suited to go to the Pistons. And it's just like I have a lot of respect for Sam, but like I disagree with basically that entire segment.
Yeah, in my opinion.
So what you're telling me is that Jaden Ivey is the Malik Willis of this NBA draft.
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay. As far as the depth just not being there.
Yeah. And the guard is so important, quarterback is so important. If you need a guard or a quarterback, you got to take one of these guys high because they're so valuable.
Right.
Tell him you're not a hater, man. Tell him you're not an Ivy hater. You're just an Ivy realist.
I'm a realist. I think
That's the realist.
If he ends up in like OKC where he's playing next to Shea, or if he ends up in like New York where he's playing next to RJ and like he doesn't have to handle the ball all the time, and he can just like he can be a guy who just like brings them an infusion of energy, and they pick him like 11th and the expectations are low. It's like, yeah, he can absolutely have success. I don't think he'll be a bad player. I just don't think he'd be the best fit as a backcourt partner next to Cade Cunningham.
No, if he's available. Oh, you go ahead, Sean.
I do want to say, although I do agree on some of the weariness on Jaden Ivey as a prospect. You know, as far as especially with the fit too, just because even though we've seen that he can play off ball, a lot of his offense at Purdue was very heliocentric. the ball's running through him. And if he came to Detroit, I don't think he would be expected to do that. But again, what are you when the ball's not in your hands?
Yeah.
And with
my guy,
that, I would say
truth over emotions sound real emotional. I'm just saying.
Yeah, what I would say,
it's only one D Rose, bro.
I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go with comparing him to Hamidou Diallo. I would say skill wise with the ball, he can do a lot more in his hands as far as creating for himself and others. Like I mean, Diallo, I love Diallo. I don't want to trash on him, but like, let's be honest, like he's just offensively, I don't think he's the player that Ivy is or can be. But I also do agree that I wouldn't also anoint. I don't know if he's going to be an all-star. Like if he was drafted, I think he could be a good starting point guard for a long time. But is that the value of a number 5 overall pick if you're drafting a point guard, especially the first point guard that would be off the board? I don't know. That's where it gets interesting. And that's why if you're talking about which guard to draft, Sharpe or Ivy, that's where the interesting conversation is. Cause it's like, we did a video, which by the way, the support on it from Half Court, like I'm still refreshing and blown away. It's at over 2.2 thousand views and it's insane. Thank you so much to everyone that's watched it. We compared Ivy and Sharpe. And one of the things I said in there is that to me, it's a very similar conversation of Jabari Smith Jr. and Chet Holmgren in the sense that one might have the floor and that can come in and at the very least be a contributing NBA player. But the other person might be the less known commodity, but like Chet could potentially have that ceiling to be something that could transcend the rest of this class. And so I think that's the interesting thing. Do you if Troy Weaver is thinking about going guard there, which if Keegan Murray's on the board, I don't think he does, but let's say they go guard, do you want to go and get the guy that's more of the sure thing? Or are you confident in the talent and what you see in Shaedon Sharpe? And do you think his ceiling in Detroit could be something different? And that's going to be the interesting conversation with those two, in my opinion.
I keep saying people say Mathurin, man.
And again, I like Mathurin, but y'all, I'm just saying, I'm not telling you of that I don't like Benedict Mathurin, but if you're looking at mocks right now, if you're looking at everything that's formulating, Mathurin's available later. I'm saying we could possibly also get Mathurin in addition to who we get at 5. In my opinion, I think Mathurin's a guy that's going to be, he could very well be top 10, but I think he's going to be towards the bottom of that top 10 based on where he's being projected. Yep. That's just how it is.
I feel like Cade affords you the opportunity, if you feel like it's close between Sharpe and Ivy, to say, you know what, let's roll the dice on Shaedon Sharpe because of the ceiling, the measurables, what it could be. Cade Cunningham is that. If we didn't get Cade, if we had Jalen Green, if we had another pick, we would probably be looking at this draft much different and with an urgency even to try and get more picks in this draft. But because we have Cade, we get to talk about this and discuss these things from a completely different angle. And that's where I would say, you know what? Let's just take Shaedon Sharpe in this. Let's if we believe some of the hype, then you got to go with Shaedon. And that's what I'm.
And we also don't want to pick a guy so high who may take away from what Cade may bring to the floor.
Yep.
Cade is the orchestrator of this team. We know that Ivy is very ball dominant.
I love you, Chuck.
Shout out to Chuck.
I never see Chuck say exactly Sean. I see more Sean, you need help, but that's okay, Chuck.
I highlighted that one because I knew that it wasn't necessarily I'm not going to judge Chuck, but I'm sure some of it was like, hey, Sean, I hope you see it.
Oh, it was. It definitely was. It was. With Chuck, I know for a fact that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like,
sure.
It's like, wow, what said Kool-Aid? Sean, check in the mental hospital. You need help. It's like
Kool-Aid brought up a great point though. Like if we had Jalen Green and is like, well, we need a real point guard, and it's like Killian's, still not, where we'd like him to be. And it's like we had a rotation of like Ivy and Green. That's
Ivy Green and Killian Hayes.
Yeah, that would not.
Bro,
and like
how much better
I like
Jalen
makes
the sound.
I like Jalen Green.
Ivy and Green over in Houston. They got Porter over there.
Exactly.
How much better Cade makes that lineup sound? We sat here. I'm seriously I'm not laughing at Jalen Green. I was ready to take him with the number 2 pick. Hey, we got lucky. We got Cade. But think about the differences, man.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and again, that's as we keep talking about this draft, it allows us to explore multiple different directions of what Troy Weaver could do, because you could see him going big, you could see him going small. You could go in the backcourt, you could go with the wing, you could go with, there are so many different options. And I do believe that a guy like Benedict Mathurin's is in play at 5. But ultimately, I think it's because of multiple different guys right now are in play, because there's a lot of talent in this draft, and a lot of drafts truly start at 5.
Yeah.
So, Chuck,
I was talking to a guy who covers the Pacers today, and I was asking him what are they gonna do, right? Because that's if they trade Jeremy for the 7th overall pick, which is something that I've been kind of just factoring in pretty heavily.
Yeah,
is would they take a guy like Shaedon Sharpe, basically? And he was kind of dubious, not because of anything about Shaedon Sharpe's talent. He was just that's not how the Pacers get down, right? That's just not they've been more they've been after more of the sure things in the draft over the course of their existence. Sometimes it's worked out for them, right? They got Paul George at 10, right? Sometimes it's worked out for them really well. But he was saying that he doesn't think that they would take a such an unknown quantity at 6. And so my thing has been the unity ticket, right? You take Keegan Murray at 5 because you have Murray, you feel more comfortable trading Jeremy Grant. You trade Jeremy Grant for 7, and then at 7 you take Shaedon Sharpe.
That's what I've been saying.
Everyone's happy. Everyone's happy, right?
So that's the thing I said before the lottery. Imagine if we get in a situation and it's just like what the Lions did in the draft, where you talk about how at the number 2 pick, that was my case. You go at 2, you get your safe guy in Jabari. At this case, like you said, it could be Keegan Murray, your safe, surefire thing of the guy who can come in, a guy who adds on the defensive end, kind of like your pass rusher role, where you have your quarterback. Now you have your guy who can help lead the charge and take a lot of defensive assignments. And then, like you said, you go get your flashy, you go get your home run hit, you go get your fun lottery, high, low risk, high reward quantity pick, and Shaedon Sharpe at 7. And then you go get your potential game changer and playmaker too.
And there's only one way that I personally see Troy making that type of a play. Even though we can sit here and say, "Yo, that's good. That looks good. That looks good." We've wanted this type of go young for a while now. We see OKC do that. They're not really winning. Troy's trying to win. So the only way that I see him really trading Jeremy Grant for a younger player, for a less mature player, for a player that's going to have to be taught and learn the NBA game, is if, we keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it, if he believes Cage ready.
Yep.
That's what I believe is very key. Or unless they know they can bring in another player who can help to try and steady that ship, so it's not just a bunch of young players, even if they're mature, who are still trying to learn the game, learn the spots, learn the speed. We still have Killian who's still trying to learn the game. We have players like Bagley who has to relearn the game. So as long as Cage ready, and if Troy thinks he's ready, I'm comfortable with it. And the more and more I think about it, I've been if we fall, we've said it all along. Keegan Murray, cool. I never really thought about who they would target with that 2nd pick, but Shaedon Sharpe, as I continue to look into the other draft picks, I'm not blown away, and I don't know if that gets people in trouble, because we don't know what Shaedon Sharpe is. We've seen people say, well, I'm not blown away by the other guys, but this other guy from overseas, his measurables are good, and it gets you in trouble. So I don't know, man. Shaedon Sharpe, Keegan Murray sounds good. That's probably where I'm leaning, but I am a little bit Joe Dumars nervous.
Kool-Aid, get that last comment from Nud. That's a good one.
From who? Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, there we go.
That's the argument basically for Shaedon Sharpe in a nutshell.
That's a great.
That's a great one.
That is exactly it. Because if Troy, and that's why drafting him at 5. The only way they would draft him at 5 is if Troy Weaver believes he's the best player in this class. That is the only way you draft him at 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like I was saying, if Keegan Murray is available to the Pacers at 6, they would probably take him. right? So
100%.
That's the order of operations that you're operating under, which is why I saw some people in the chat being like, "Would Sharpe still be there at 6?" It's like Keegan Murray for sure wouldn't be there at 7, and Shaedon Sharpe might.
No.
So like that's why you do it in that order.
Keegan like this consensus kind of most complete player, safest pick, especially when you get outside of that top 2, probably top 3.
Yeah. And like Indiana has a need for like more wing guys, right? Like they still TJ Warren is an unrestricted free agent. Like I think that they like him and I think he's like happy with the situation there, but they don't know if he's coming back or not, right? And so it's like they need more wing depth. And so like and as a guy who's established and good with upside, like I think they would absolutely be interested in like a Keegan Murray type. And so like that's why you got to do it that way.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the good thing is, no matter what, I'm not sure how anyone else feels, but again, this is the most okay in a long time I felt the Pistons falling in a lottery, because I know, for one, I trust the man making decisions, but number 2, I trust the franchise piece that we're building around. And that's the thing that we just need to keep getting ourselves reminded of 100%.
Yeah.
Look,
that's a
I
great
want to ask this question, man. I know we're gonna have to wrap up soon, but I want to ask this question. I got to ask Rod, I got to ask Sean, I got to ask Jeff on the Woodward Pistons podcast. And I want to remove the Sacramento Kings. Okay. I want to remove them from this equation. Okay. Who is going to Darko this pick? Who is taking somebody they shouldn't and allowing Dwayne Wade to fall to the Pistons, or allowing that type of a pick to fall? All right. We need 2 teams to do this.
You took the Kings out of it, man.
Because that's too easy. That's too easy. But no, for real, we don't know what some of these players are looking like. And Shaedon Sharpe is a guy who knows who's going to reach before the Pistons and do something that they shouldn't do.
Can I make a case?
The Kings. Everyone's still saying the Kings.
Well, here's the thing. Even though it's the Kings, can I make a case? A team that we're not going to. And I'm confident this is an answer anyone else has. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sam Presti is a guy that is known as a great eye for talent, but on top of that, he's also known to be a guy that can also go for some boom or bust. And so if you're looking at a guy, I think he's looking his chops at Chet Holmgren. And I know for a fact that Chet ain't going beyond 2.
Bro, the Rockets.
And so, well, here's the thing.
I can see
if they draft Sharpe, they go for the double green special.
Yo, that would be an on-court fight between KPJ, Jalen Green, and Shaedon Sharpe over who gets to shoot next.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, you know what? I never thought about that, man.
That would be a disaster.
If that happened, no hyperbole, that would be the most confusing draft pick I'd ever seen in my entire life. But in all seriousness, the things, I could see them going with Ivy at 3 as well. The Rockets definitely could, but listen, the Oklahoma City Thunder, Sam Presti's had some busts in there too. And and another thing, he might not feel as much pressure to get this one right. How many picks does he have coming down the pipeline?
He has 17 first-round picks over the next 5 years.
Exactly.
What?
So if he gets this one wrong, who's saying this is
Presti,
back in the top 3?
Hook your boy up. Hook Troy Weaver up, man. Come on. Hook him up, man. You don't need this.
A ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
man,
that ain't happening. But anyway.
But it's fun to think about.
It's a fun possible scenario, but that ain't happening. But again, I think Oklahoma City, they definitely could. I mean, Sam Presti, he's not perfect. That's all I'm saying.
Yo, how do we start this Shaedon Sharpe to Houston train, man? So we can get a player to fall to Detroit.
Ooh. So let me ask you a question. If that were to happen, hypothetically, big time hypothetically, who are you taking?
Whoever's left.
Right? Yeah, right. So whichever one fail. I'm just there we go.
So let's say that that's tough then. Well, yeah, because if they take them there, who do you think will be there still? That's the better question. Who would still be there if he goes
to the King and Shaedon Sharpe goes?
That's what I'm saying.
Goes to the Rockets.
I think it'd be Paulo.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Just because you're really sold on this Shaedon Sharpe to Houston idea.
We gotta make this work, bro. We gotta make this work. We're gonna start putting it out there.
Y'all are trying to sleeper agent Raphael Stone. I see you.
Yeah, of the three, Paulo is the most likely to fall.
Yeah,
but I think, but I don't think that means he's the worst player. I just think that I think Paulo, he might almost be the most known commodity of the three, and I think that would be what would put him at 3. Whereas with Jabari and Chet, there is some upside there that we don't know about.
So Paulo is the one probably most likely if a team or two Darkos to probably be there for the Pistons, and that would be us being able to make up for the Carmelo debacle.
Oh man,
that would be ridiculous.
That's the Christmas. I guess that's the perfect scenario.
Yeah,
that would be the perfect scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the
think about. Why do we think about that?
That's the Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Friendsgiving. That's like all the holidays.
Houston. I'm telling y'all,
Festivus for the rest of us.
Yeah, that's Festivus for the rest of us, baby. Exactly.
Yes,
why they still calling me out on this, man?
Yeah, bro.
Man, I tell you what, I was sitting next to him in that I was close to getting my therapist like on speed dial, like listen, man,
bro,
we got it. Like I saw Kool-Aid like go through almost in that podcast.
I tried to contain all
5 stages of grief in that one episode, bro. Like it was the denial, it was the anger, it was the.
Y'all gotta understand. I came out in full lucky gear for the draft lottery show, and we dropped.
Hey,
I just knew Jabari Smith was on the way, man. But you know what? Now, Shaedon Sharpe to Houston, Paulo to Detroit. I think that's my new dream, Sean. You got to come on next week, man, and try and cool me down. I'm gonna give you a difficult time, bro.
We'll throw some water on you, bro. You never know, though. I've seen stranger things happen in the draft.
No, hold on. Because I was like, look, man, I got to bring the hypotheticals. I have to. You know,
you do.
Detroit Kool-Aid, got to bring it. Sean was like, I'm Detroit Pepto-Bismol, boy. I'm just trying to make it go down smooth. I lost it, dog. I was like, no, I didn't.
I would have never thought to put that together like that.
I was pretty proud of that one, man. You might I was like, you might be Kool-Aid, but I'm Pepto-Bismol. I'm washing out the shit, telling you how it is.
How much acidic food have you had in your life, bro? Like, who thinks about Pepto-Bismol in that moment?
I don't know, man. Listen, brother, I was so sleep deprived. When I was in Detroit, I did a total of 7 shows between everything that we did. So
the whole car wash.
Yeah, he did everything, man. I was happy for it. I was like, Sean, we started at like 8 something. He said, I'm gonna be there. I was like, all right. 8 a.m. He was there. I was calling him, right? And from where the Studio B is, it's all glass. It's a little spot where you can see the next office. I'm calling him. I look up, I just see his reflection in the next office. I'm like, well, Sean, let's go. He's like, yeah, let's go.
I was like, I'm here. I'm ready to go. Let's do this thing.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, exactly. Chuck. All right, Chuck keeps giving me this hard time. I wasn't in the live chat for the heavyweights.
Where is he
I was in another podcast, Chuck. I'm sorry.
Calling you out.
Listen, look, I can't be.
We
Mr.
only get.
I can't
Sean,
be Doctor Strange. I can't be everywhere.
Let me tell him for you, bro. Let me tell him. Look, Sean is usually my anger translator, so I can't be his anger translator, but I will help translate. We get Sean in studio maybe once a month, and we are excited for that for like 2 days, and he does the whole car wash, man.
Mm-hmm.
Next time, though, you gotta give Chuck what he needs, though, bro, and definitely do the live chat for the Woodward heavyweights.
Yeah, don't worry. Not only will I be there in the chat, apparently I have to ask Chuck what he thinks of everything. I have to make sure Chuck knows I'm in the chat. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Don't you think, Chuck? And he'll be like, oh man, what about you, Chuck? What kind of music were you listening to on the weekend? I guess you gotta make him really know that I was there 100%. If they didn't know I was in a podcast, Easy, what the heck do they know? What the heck does Easy and Spencer know? I'm just kidding. I love those guys.
He ain't gonna leave you alone, bro.
Oh my God. But no, in all seriousness, man, it was such a fun circuit. I had a blast being down there with you guys. It was it was the we always make the jokes that get Sean to move to Detroit Fund, as Kool-Aid like to affectionately called it, and even Deuce was looking at me. He was like,
we got a fund. I got 5 on it.
Hey,
that's what I'm talking about.
I was about to say that last got the hot and ready for us, but they bumped them boys up to 550 now.
Man, like literally, like Deuce and I are like in the car, we're like getting to know each other. Like one of the first things he says to me is like, you know, you got to move down here, right? I'm like, man, yeah, it's everybody. It's like y'all are.
Hey, he gave you a compliment, bro.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate it, man. Hey, for someone that's from West Michigan, for someone that knows GR, I know Detroit pretty darn well, and I know how to rep the city right. So
yeah, and he's standing there right now. He's gonna be there until we get Devin Booker here in a Pistons uniform. So
there we go.
Thank you for your service, Sean Murphy.
Well, hold on. Was that Chuck Brewer or was he AFK? Because I don't know if I trust that comment from Chuck. I don't know. That don't seem like a Chuck.
Yeah, that's true.
He might have been AFK.
Did we get taken over?
Yeah, I think he might have got taken over.
I made a burner account called Chuck Brewer that looks the exact same. So I can make it look like Chuck complimented me once in a while. That's exactly what it is.
The same profile picture and everything. That was fun.
Well, guys,
Laz, this was fun.
Yeah, Laz, you gotta come on again, man. This was a blast. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
No,
you are the dude.
Well, not anytime. You know, sometimes the boy don't feel like sleeping, but like anytime I can, I would definitely love to be here. Thank you guys for having me. And I'm gonna definitely have to reciprocate. You know, we're gonna have to figure some stuff out for the Detroit Bad Boys podcast. We don't have the setup. We don't have the video and everything. It'll just have to be some dulcet tones. We can put your NPR voice on. But yeah, we could definitely make something happen.
Hey, I could still bring out the fireworks on podcast. People can still get the we can still get all that going on.
Hey, let's get that out of tune going.
Oh. Yeah, we lie, baby.
Now,
hey, Sean, I might have to.
You gotta give them the Chipmunks too, though.
Oh, here's the thing: the Chipmunks is all weird.
If he turns the Chipmunks on, he might not be able to turn it off. So let's
not. But listen, man, the Chipmunks is weird because, like, when it's working right, the voice is like way higher and messed up. Like, hold on. Like that doesn't make any sense, man. Like you can't even understand it.
I gotta watch that video tonight. I'm going back and watch it tonight, dog.
I watched it last night. No, the screen grab from when that happened. The reaction everybody had in their face, like,
dude,
was priceless.
Dude, man, that's gonna be like the beginning of like my villain origin story. Like that's gonna be the thing that's gonna drag me to go like, riddle me this, Batman.
Hey, bro, the narration's gonna go.
No, you need to make that.
Sean the Fool. And it's just gonna be his voice.
Make that.
Oh shoot!
Hey, Sean, one of these days though, Sean, we gotta do an auto-tune competition. Your auto-tune versus auto-tune.
100%. We could definitely do an auto-tune contest. We'll have
karaoke.
to do it. Yeah, when we get the Woodward Pistons mixtape eventually, you know, you best believe there'll be some.
Yes, sir.
There will be some auto-tune. I'll have some auto-tune Antonio McDice ballads on there, man. Mark my words. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, as we are. I do want to thank everyone so much for tuning in and for being here. This is, again, Woodward Pistons Table Talk, where each and every week we talk about what it is, baby, in the world of the Detroit Pistons. And we always have the biggest voices and the prominent figures in this community, whether it's Laz, whether it's Pistons Thoughts, whether it's Everything King, whether it's Lexi, whether it's myself. Man, yeah, they are enablers. You know what? They are. They tell me to ramp it up. I'm like, guys, I gotta be more serious if you want. And they're like, nah, we want you popping zip. They're the ones that are making me do that. But seriously, man, follow Laz. Make sure you're checking out what everything they're doing, man, because everything that Laz does, he's awesome, man. He knows his stuff, Pistons wise. Yes, Deuce, we're appreciative of you, man. Grateful. I want to give Kool-Aid his props, helping put everything together, but also being the one behind Woodward Pistons, helping make a lot of things happen. This guy loves this team a ton and loves this community. Shout out to Kool-Aid, man. Seriously,
hey, like I said,
give everyone the love, man. He's never going to be the guy that's going to seek out the credit, so I'm going to be the one that's going to give it to him because he deserves it, brother. But seriously, thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll catch you next time here on Woodward Pistons. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what we got coming next. Catch you guys later, everybody.
Detroit, everybody.
Hey.